Have you ever been using Google Sheets and have seen this warning pop up? If so, I'm sure you're concerned about whether it's safe to allow access. And so I'm going to walk you through that in today's video. So first of all, if you have personal, private, or sensitive information on your Google Sheet, I would recommend steering away from any kind of formulas like this that will send or receive data from external parties or services, just to keep you safe. Now, apart from that, what if you just added an image formula like this and then it popped up? In that case, it's probably safe to allow access, but I want to walk you through what could happen here and why this could be a risk. So for example, the image formula here, I have an image from NASA that I pulled from this image of the day to display in my Google Sheet. And so this one is not nefarious and it's not dangerous, but why would this potentially be dangerous? And if you look at this warning, it says some formulas are trying to send and receive data from external parties. And so this is a generic, this isn't actually trying to send data, but you can use these formulas to potentially send data from your Google Sheet. So let me walk you through what that looks like, how that could potentially be used. And so for example, here it looks like this is the only tab. If I go click here, I can see here's this tab, and I have jokingly named this nothing to see here, like this. Now what I could do on this hidden tab is I could take that image formula and then do some URL, but then I can do a ampersand and add some data. So let's look at what this could look like. So here's some, relatively personal data, maybe even credit card numbers and stuff like that. Now on this image formula here, so let me retype this real quick. So some private server is getting this data, and what I can do is ampersand and I can include this data. And so someone could sync up a server where it would take this input, and so they could potentially link it to your personal info. Obviously, they're probably going to hide that. And then, so when you come along and allow access, this shows up. But now back on this one, you can see now that data is actually being sent to that server. So that's what the security risk is there. And so if you created the Google Sheet, this is not going to be there unless you potentially share this with somebody that could. And so you can always double check if you're not sure. Click on the sharing, see if it's shared with anybody else. If it's not, then that would not be the case. And so usually where this would come up is if you made a copy of a template you found online, maybe someone shared it with you and you made a copy. And you may want to just verify that there's no hidden tabs. Now, one thing to look at here is I can't see that there's a formula here. So if I just went here, maybe there's some other data. And so I can't tell that this isn't doing anything. Maybe something like that. And so one thing to keep in mind is you can always hit Control and the tilde, which is above the tab. And if you do, then any formulas show up. So we can see here the formula there, we can see there the formula there. And so that's just a thing to keep in mind, and you can hit Control and tilde again. And so that may be a thing to check. And also just recognize that if there's tabs that don't need to be there, you can always delete those as well. And so again, this isn't a super big concern if you don't have personal data on your sheet. Then this isn't really something I would spend any time worrying about. But if you have personal data, I would recommend not allowing access. And then if you want to add images, of a cat or space, what I recommend doing is either downloading my computer and you can upload them through insert and image, and then you can insert in or oversell. So I'll just show you an example here. So I won't do an upload here, but you can do upload from your computer. Or we could do something like this and search for NASA nebula picture and say we bring one in like that. And so this is a safe way to bring in pictures or images if you don't want to have any of those external links. And so one more thing to keep in mind is I've explained how you could use something like an image, and this can be used with any of those. So we have import any of these, import HTML, for example. It also uses a link. And so anything that uses a URL could potentially be adding data, just like what I'm showing here. So it could actually send data from your Google Sheet to another server. Now, again, this doesn't always necessarily mean it's a nefarious or evil purpose. There are legitimate reasons to do this. And so if this is a business or corporate Google Sheet and you may be sending to your own server some of this stuff, in that case, I would just recommend, if you're not sure, just to check with the tech or the admin or whoever has been managing the sheet, just to make sure that those are supposed to be there and they're not doing anything they're not supposed to. Let me show you the last thing to keep in mind if you are worried about security, and you won't necessarily get a warning for this one. So one thing you can check is if you have a app script on your Google Sheet that can also send data. And if you're not sure if you have one, you can just go to File, Make a Copy, and what you'll see here is a list of the app scripts. So this one does not have one. Now, if you do have one, you may want to go to Extensions and App Script, and again, verify there that everything is supposed to be there. And if it's making some what's called a URL fetch app call to domains that you do not recognize, then it's probably worth looking at in closer detail. And so with that, I'll wrap up today's video. Now keep in mind, I've not done an exhaustive approach to all the different ways that you could potentially hide these formulas, where you could hide them. And so that's where the big warning up front is going to be your clue that there is potentially something hiding somewhere in the nooks and crannies. And so again, you may just want to start fresh with a clean Google Sheet if you're concerned about that. But in today's video, I just want to give you an idea of what that could look like, why you could even be concerned, and just some ways to look for and understand. And so if you had just added a image formula and then had that warning pop up, then at that point there wouldn't be another formula back here hiding, because it would have already triggered that warning. And so if the warning just showed up for you, then you're good to go ahead and allow access. I just wanted to make you aware of what potential security considerations there could be if that popped up and you weren't aware of why it showed up, maybe from a fresh copy of a Google Sheet made. So thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the other videos on our channel for more tutorials on both Google Sheets and AppScript. And as always, have a great day.